Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. On this program, I want to solve the mystery of the woman clothed with a sun in chapter 12, verse 1 of the book of Revelations. Does this vision occur at nighttime or daytime or sometime in between? And I asked this question in my last video, and I got quite a few responses, and half of you got it correct. This vision occurs at night. And one of you, 22 July 1969, even got the hour correct. And this is what he said. I think that Revelation 12:1 occurs at midnight because of the 12 stars. Well, you are correct, 22 July 1969, but I'm not sure if that is the reason. The reason it occurs at midnight is because 12 is an end times number, and midnight signifies the end times. This vision, which St. John sees of the woman clothed with a sun, is a prophecy of the times we are living in today, because Mary has an extremely important role in defeating the Antichrist. But now the question remains, how can the sun be shining at midnight? Now, some of you suggested that this was an eclipse, but that can't be right because the sun appears above the moon. Remember, the woman is clothed with the sun, and the moon is at her feet. In other words, the moon is not blocking out the sun. To better explain this image of the woman clothed with the sun, we need to see another apparition of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and that is when she appeared in Mexico to Juan Diego in 1531. Let's take a look at this image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now notice in this famous image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, the sun is behind Mary. And I believe that this is what St. John meant when he said the woman was clothed with the sun. Now I have favorited a video on my channel by Ellie33377, and she explains that the mantle, the outer mantle, symbolizes those who will take the mark of the beast, and the inner mantle symbolizes those who will refuse. Notice that the moon under Mary's feet also looks like the horns of the devil, and also could symbolize Islam. So now we have seen that Mary appeared to St. John on the island of Patmos, and she appeared to Juan Diego in Mexico. And now an even greater apparition of the Blessed Mother occurred at Fatima, Portugal in 1913, when she appeared to the three shepherd children. Fatima will provide all the clues we need to understand what this sun is that John, Juan Diego, and the three shepherd children at Fatima saw. Let's look at the characteristics of this sun. Now there were 5 major characteristics of the miracle of the sun at Fatima. First of all, the people could look at the sun. It could be stared at. Second, the sun danced in the sky. It moved erratically. Third, the sun threw off sparklers, as it were, or shafts of light. Fourth, the sun plunged towards the earth at the end of the apparition. And fifthly, the sun gave off heat to dry the clothes and the mud, although the people did not feel the heat. I believe this is the same sun which St. John sees Mary clothed with in the book of Revelation, and the same sun which appears around Our Lady of Guadalupe. It should be clear by now that this sun, which John saw the woman clothed with at Patmos, and which is shown in the tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe, is not the solar sun that we see in the sky. The 5 characteristics of the miracle of the sun at Fatima show that this must be some other heavenly object. I believe what we are seeing is the end times comet. This is the chastisement which God will send upon mankind at Armageddon. If we look at where this end times comet appears elsewhere in the book of Revelation, and that is following the pale horse of death, we will see that the characteristics fit almost exactly the same images that we get from Our Lady of Fatima. Revelation 8, verse 5. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Now this fire is the end times comet, and casting it to the earth symbolizes when it will strike the planet. When the angel fills the censer with fire and casts it to earth, that is an image of the comet plunging towards the earth, as we saw at Fatima. Chapter 11, verse 19. And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. Now this great hail, as described in this passage, does not refer to ice particles. These are the same as the sparklers which came off the sun at Fatima. These are bits and pieces of the comet which will strike the earth and cause great fear among mankind. Chapter 16, verse 8, And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. Here is another case where the miracle of the sun at Fatima explains a passage from the book of Revelation. The great heat which dried up the mud at Fatima and which dried the clothes can be seen in this passage where the comet scorches mankind. And notice the sun in this passage. Again, this is not the solar sun that we see in the sky. This is the end times comet. Chapter 16, verse 18. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake, and so great. The earthquake which we see in this passage from Revelation did not occur at Fatima. But there's no doubt that the sun plunging towards the earth, which was seen at Fatima, would result in a terrible earthquake. And as Revelation says, this will be the greatest earthquake in the entire history of mankind, when this comet strikes our planet. Chapter 16, verse 9. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Notice here Babylon came in remembrance before God. That's because this is the second time that Babylon will be struck in the end times. Babylon, that is America and Britain, and in fact all of the West, was first destroyed in World War III at the beginning of the tribulation. But here at the end of the 7 years of tribulation, Babylon is struck again by this comet. We have been looking primarily at the book of Revelation to find this end times comet and how it will hit Babylon, that is America. But we can also find this destruction in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 6. And I will send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am the Lord. Now Magog in this passage refers to Russia, but those who dwell carelessly in the isles refers to the United States of America and the other capitalist countries which comprised Babylon. This is the second time Babylon will be struck, as I said before, at the end of the tribulation period. So the fire in this passage, and the earthquake, and the hail, and the heat, and the sun dancing in the sky and throwing off sparklers, all of these do not refer to our solar sun in the sky. They refer to God's punishment at Armageddon, which will be this end times comet. And that is the solution to the problem of the woman clothed with the sun. This vision occurs at midnight because it is the end times. And the sun, which Mary stands in front of, is the end times comet. Standing in front of the sun indicates that Mary will protect some of us, that she is blocking the effects of this sun. If you do not see Mary standing in front of the sun when this end times comet strikes our planet, I would advise you to take your rosary out very quickly, if you haven't done so already, because only Mary is going to protect you from this end times destruction. Mary is the one who will crush the head of the Antichrist. And if you want to join her army, you should take up the 2 weapons, her rosary and her scapular. So in conclusion, we see that the woman is not clothed with the real sun in the book of Revelation, but rather with the end times comet. This is the first of Mary's great apparitions. And as with all her apparitions, they have to do with the end times. This is a prophetic vision which St. John received. And if you would like more information, or a free copy of my book Revelation Unraveled, simply write to the address you see on your screen.